I think everybody has come. So what is today's question on which we will start our discussion?
I wanted you to talk more about the difference between the mental and the intellect.
That's a big thing. These days, when we speak English, the word mind is meant by interpsychology, including the power of judgment. But in all indigenous shamanic faiths, as well as in the Oriental religions, even in Abrahamic tradition, intellect and mind are not the same thing. It's a very pertinent question. It is a very important question because whenever any Indian or Asiatic teacher speaks about it, Westerners do not understand why the mind is not judgment, isn't it?
I was trying to observe within myself, like, okay, the mental is talking, like commenting, thinking of the future, the past, the organization. And then for me, the concept of intellect is like concept, being able to juggle with concept. But it's not
I will
clear
try to, I am understanding. This is everybody's confusion and contradiction regarding mind and intellect. Buddha gave a very beautiful new terminology to mind. Buddha didn't, in the Panchaskandha or the five, or in Vedanta it is called Pancha Tanmatra. In Buddhism it's called Panchaskandha. In Shaivism it is called Panchaskandha. So the five elements, what we translate in English, in Indian philosophy, even in all indigenous philosophy, even in the Celtic philosophy, so I cannot say it is not Western. I will say not along the Western modern concept, but the indigenous concept and the Asian concept about these five elements are very much the same. First, I will explain this, then I will go to mind and intellect, then it will be easier to understand. The five elements are earth, which is meant to be solid. Earth is not meant to be only clay or mud. It meant to be solid. Any metal, rock, wood, anything which is solid is earth. In life, the solidity is the body. Then, in the cosmic elements, water. This is how the yogis have settled it on. Water. Water is our sensation and emotion, and water is not just water, it can be oil also, anything that is liquid. That when the molecules in a mass is more dispersed from solid, it becomes a flowing material or mass, which is liquid. This liquidity has turned in life as sensation because through our 72,000 channels in the body, the nerves and the blood streams, the blood and the neurophosphate is flowing, creating our sensations. This is from where the alchemy of spirituality comes. Now, the third state is in the element is fire. Fire is not meant by just fire, it is meant by kinetic energy. Anything, the energy which activates and transforms masses as well as itself gets transformed into various forms. That's energy. And energy in us is the mind. How does an alchemist yogi see it? Alchemist yogis are the highest of yogis because they see everything as frequency. So they can translate one frequency to another frequency and change forms. So fire is combustive energy, or that is breaking the liquid structure into more dispersed molecules to become air. Same mass can become air when the molecules are dispersed. It is going through fire. What is fire? Now, it is a very critical thing. Helen, Kaushiki, for you. Our mind is what you know. Everybody can get it a bit short. Our mind is the flow of electrons from our body. That's always happening. That is the temperature of your body, a heat energy. Through activative yoga, like breathing, hatha yoga, exercise, more heat comes out from the body. That is the flow of your electrons. This flow of electrons are moving in a rhythm that your sum total pulsation of the body has created a rhythm. So if you change this rhythm of your whole body pulsation, suppose, and control your pulsation to a particular beat, and that beat is found, suppose, in another object or another matter which is not you, you can, by your pulsation, control that matter which is not you away from you. This is how magics and miracles are done by yogis. Frequency. When Lord Buddha, Siddhartha Sakyamuni, went to his fourth phase of sadhana or meditations and practices, he was moving from one guru to another. He was not getting his ultimate answer. And his quest is also moving. That is why Lord Buddha has designed his teaching as the wheel. Why wheel? It moves on. Every day a new realization. It's not there is one day of your realization and from next day you are a wooden doll. You cannot evolve anymore. It's not like that. Every breath is a new experience, is a new view, is a new realization. That is why many people ask me, what is your day of enlightenment? I said, I never fixed it in the calendar. It moves on. If there is enlightenment at all, what others think about it, I don't know. It's happening every moment. With every situation, it's a renewing. It moves, the wheel moves. The Buddha Purnima day, I said, why the wheel moves? Because the Eightfold Path is not that you have reached Samyak Samadhi or completion of Samadhi and there it ends. From there, a new view comes. From that view, a new commitment comes. From that commitment, a new way of expression comes. From that new way of expression, a new way of activity comes. From the new way of action, a new vistas of life opens. A new livelihood can come to you anytime you are changing your mode of activities. From there, a renewed diligence. From there, a renewed memory. From there, a renewed perfection of Samadhi comes. It never ends. It carries on. And because it carries on, though after nirvana, there is no samskara or quality of self remaining there. And what is remaining is just an appearance. But still, Buddhas desire to come back to renew their realization and enlightenment into manifoldness of life again. That is why there is a thought. Many doctrinal teachers teach that a Buddha who has attained nirvana and then parinirvana, death, will never come back. It's not so. A Buddha develops as a Tathagata. Pragya Paramita Ashtashastrika, Buddha explains it. What is a Tathagata? Tat means suchness. What is suchness? The enlightenment that can encompass everything. So they have reached, Gata means gone there. They have gone there. And Agata means come back from there. So they are doing to and fro from the house of void to the house of life. And a time comes when they see no difference between life and no difference between the void. The void, they have seen again and again and again. So many times they've seen. And in their perfection of memory, they have seen how everything wears out, including your own identity, your own existence. And you see till death. Death. Why it is death? Because you don't exist anymore. You can see your existence dying. Till death you can see. But then how do you come back after the Samadhi? In the same way, a Buddha can also come back from the land of Samadhi, from the land of death, back to life. In India, the Buddha of this era, Sri Ramakrishna said, during time of deluge, the mother, he called the pure consciousness as the mother. The mother maintains and keeps the 5 seeds of creation. So these 5 seeds are the frequency of the 5 elements. So when a Buddha enters the womb of voidness, his 5 seeds of creation, he does not burn out to come back as a Tathagata. Like Sakyamuni Buddha says after enlightenment, I will come back to this world again and again, so long every sentient being is enlightened. In Shiva Puranam, Parvati asks Shiva that if you are so unattached, a renunciate, love to be only in the snow-clad Himalayas and Kailasha, why do you go to the world and mix up with the outcasts, the chandalas, those who are funeral worker, they are untouchable in Hindu faith. But Shiva loves to go and have a drink with them, a smoke with them. So Parvati is getting a bit disturbed about this attitude of Shiva, that he does not have class friends. He is a proletariat. My Vedanta Guru used to call Shiva proletariat Lord. See, Shiva is that face of God who loves Satan. Because Satan is also his son. How he cannot love Satan? He is all love. And to be in all love is to forget frequently the pain others are inflicting on him. So he's called the forgetful Lord, or Bholenath. He's forgetful. He's forgetting the world, meaningless to remember. But still he's in love with the world. One who is enlightened in the thought that this entire world is an illusion, at the same time has fallen in love with this world and comes back to this life to experience, realize, renew the realization, and share it with everybody with love. How do you define that love? Attachment or non-attachment? So the combustive energy, this flow of the electrons from us, is our aura cycle. In Kirlian photography, nowadays they show it, how far it is going, how round it is going. Baiju is here. So Baiju has worked with it, isn't it, Baiju? I worked with Kirlian photography when first it came to India in late 80s. And it first came to South India in Vivekananda Kendra to check the aura of the practicing yoga students. So this frequency that your aura is going is catching other frequencies. From there, your power of perception is growing. So mind is perception. Mind is the memory that records the repeated sensations or experiences and gives it definitions on names. When we define something, that faculty is mind. It may be a right definition, it may be a wrong definition, but it's a definition. You are defining it. Hindus have definited God as Ishvara and calls it some total energy as Brahman. Somebody has called it the mother. Somebody has called it the father. In Islam, it is called Allah. Definitions. In Hebrew, it's called Jehovah. Definition. If you break that word, you will get a line out of it. What does it mean? So Ishvara means one who holds the will of everything is Ishvara. The will. So this is the definition. Allah means who is unexpressed by words. The Allah means no, Al means alphabet, which means words, expression, unexpressed, undefined. So undefined is also a definition. It's a very correct definition. Shiva means existence as it is, all good. Vishnu also means presence, another term for existence, presence. Continuous presence is Vishnu. Brahman or Brahma means expansion. The ultimate term, most respected term in entire Vedas and Upanishads and Vedantas, Brahma, which means that eternally expands. It's also a view. How a view can come like that? You look at the sky. As far as your eye goes, you see there is something more beyond that. You turn your head. So every time you are turning head, your space, the sky is expanding. This experience. But this experience also matches with the Big Bang theory of quantum physics. That is continuously expanding. Now there is a theory of contraction also. The theory of contraction about God is already present in Sanskrit, called Krishna, or the centripetal force. When the circumference is sucked into the center, is Krishna, the black hole. So we call drashta or seer. These enlightened beings observed this. Just observing, being your own existence, you can observe all these definitions that has been written by the enlightened beings. Yogis called it Chaitanya. So what is Chaitanya? Pure consciousness. How is that consciousness? That makes me feel me. That makes me feel everything. that makes me feel the sky, that makes me feel earth, that makes me feel water, that makes me feel fire or energy, that makes me feel air, that makes me feel sky. What makes you feel? What is the science of that? A scientist is discovering science, inventing machines. By knowing the cause of everything, trying to know everything. Why they cannot change their mind? The mind that has discovered the science, the mind that can think the entire universe and beyond. What is that mind? So mind is perception, and intellect is judgment. Buddha has termed mind as definition, sangha. Sangha means definition. That defines a thing, defines a thing, is mind. And whether this definition is right and wrong, that judges is intellect. In the structure of the brain, mind and intellect are not two things. Our EQ is holding our entire emotions. The final files of emotions are there in the right lobe. That is producing the happening of an experience. How you experience is through the right brain. And through the left brain, you know it, you recognize it, and you can even analyze it. So the mind and intellect, the mind is both. The total frontal lobe, which is holding the two ends of the two parietal lobes, is the mind. And the intellect is the judgment, which is more the left brain. So in our physiological structure and neurology, intellect and mind are overlapped in the same brain. Whereas, as we recognize, the mind is a knowledge. This knowledge is true or not, I do not know. That is why I say, is it so? So, mind collects informations from memory and continuous defines them and gets two opposite definitions most of the time that create the binaries. And because binaries are there, mind is confused. That is why you need to judge which end of the binary you will accept or not accept. That is why intellect is the faculty that judges with your experience of the reality. So it is more analytical. Mind is emotional and informative, or the collection of information as memory, and intellect is deriving out of it analogy and judgment. Now, another job of intellect is what you are judging finally for yourself, in yourself. Those are becoming your samskara or your character. So Buddha called intellect, not judgment. He called it samskara. So what is samskara? Characterization. So characterization is through your own judgment. For a long time, when I was studying Buddhism, I was confused why samskara is not the soul or the self, why samskara is the intellect. And we have discussed about it many times, isn't it, Chinmay? That why Buddha called intellect as samskara.
Baba, I was admitting people to the meeting. Can you repeat the question?
Remember, we have discussed before while we were studying the text, Pali text, that in Panchaskandha, in Buddha's terminology of Pali, the fourth element or air element or judgment or intellect, whatever you call it, he called it samskara, means culture or characterization. Like a culture characterizes a people. What you are culturing yourself in your intellect, that is what you are. Remember, we discussed about it
Yes, Baba.
in Gangtok. And the fifth element is called Vijnana and Prajnana. Soul is said to be the science by Buddha. Vijnana. Vijnana means science. Why he calls the soul a science? Because he does not see soul as a fictitious or mythical reality that never changes or breaks. As Vedanta has said, soul or Atma is unperishable. It will always stay. But it has also called in its definition as consciousness. But Buddha is saying, yes, soul is a conditioned consciousness which holds the structure of science, means the happening of the universe is the structure of the soul. So what is the structure of the soul? Earth, solid, liquid, kinetic energy, gaseous, and ether frequencies altogether is soul. And as much as differences in each of these five faculties you have collected in you, through your judgments, that has added to your science of being, and thus soul is a Vijnana or a science. It has a start and it has an end. It's not eternal. What's the proof? They didn't prove it in laboratory. Their proof is in experience. So the proof is in Samadhi, who you were and what you were doing. No answer. Because in Samadhi, those who are going by judgmental, it's the state of one and singularity, where there is no second one to assert the one even. So there is no bifurcation, no polarity. So if there is no polarity, no knowledge is possible because there is no mind. That is why in Shiva Sutra, second line, Shiva said, Jnanam bandhaha. Knowledge itself is the bondage. Knowledge is the bondage. Why knowledge is the bondage? Because knowledge is assuring a production, a start and an end. So which has start and end is never constant. And which is never constant how that can hold the changefulness. So everybody is searching for the ultimate consciousness, which is holding the cosmic consciousness, which is holding earth consciousness, and from there human consciousness. It's only the consciousness is changing. The consciousness has changed to our chetana, or mental consciousness. So mind is kinetic energy. It continuously changes its forms. That is why from our birth to the end, our choices are continuously changed. And in the freedom of choice, we boast that this is my choice. After some time, no, this is not good. Yesterday I was a hero, today I am zero. Joy, are you hero or zero these days? Joy smiling. It's like a smile of enlightenment coming out. So, Dibakar is enjoying joy, your situation. He's saying, I am old cow dung cake that Indians use for making fire. And you are going to be a new cow dung cake. So I'm smiling at your trouble. This is called free choice. Haribol, Haribol. So, mind is in one faculty. A finer state of mind is judgment or intellect. Intellect is the power of judgment. There can be, mind is the house of thoughts, from where intellect will choose judgments. Like there is a new wave in the West. Don't be judgmental. You should not be judgmental. So you will not even recognize differences of everything. Like an extreme idea of no gender. People may think I am very satanic. I am not progressive at all. But the reality as it is, the mango is mango and the coconut is coconut. I don't have to make a mango jelly from coconut. I cannot. I can try to make a coconut jelly, whether it happens or not, I don't know. But mango jelly happens. But even a coconut jelly happens, it will never become mango jelly. That difference will remain. And that is the beauty of the variety and veracity of life. That is why the knowledge continuously gets renewed. And in that adventure of newer views, newer experiences, newer realizations, even a Buddha comes back. In the Hinduism, it will be called avatar comes back. A yogi sees avatar not as one born, taken a human form from certain heaven. A yogi sees one as avatar who has reached the voidness of substratum consciousness that is even holding the cosmic expansion. And one who can come back from there, from the source back, has wished to reincarnate and will be called the reincarnate. So avatar, a yogi say, you don't have to be anybody else's avatar. Don't run after identities. Be your own avatar. Uttitaya cha paramashunne avataranat avataram. One who raises beyond the fifth element to the void that holds everything and can come down is avatar. Now the question will come whether there's an Atma or not. If there is no Atma, who came back? So the greatest challenge, again, Buddhist philosophy by Vedanta philosophy is, who is saying that there is no self? He or she is a self or not a self? The answer to it is, because I have seen myself getting dissolved and I was not there. And again I was there, again I came back. And I started seeing how I am going and how I am coming back. I've traveled so much that now I know where I get lost and how I come back. And who is this I, which is just an appearance. It cannot hold our ego or identity anymore. As a tree doesn't have an ego identity. It won't be that simple like a tree in a human being. It will be like a human being only. Such human beings are called sahajas, or those who have become easy. Because real nature of enlightenment is when you can take it easy. When you can take your life easy, you have understood what is enlightenment. So just like this, the faculty of mind is in between outer world, which is body and sensation, turning to emotion and becoming the mind, and the mind becoming intellect and identity or ego or self or non-self. The stages. So the part of mind which is only realized by the mind and not by the outer reality, which is not even a matter of objective sensation and emotion, not even a matter of the physical experience, like the experience of Samadhi, that mind in judgment becomes intellect, and holding the judgment becomes the identity of the self. So that is the internal. This external and this internal is also in a balance. And because this balance we have lost, that is why we need to do sadhana or spiritual practice to get back to this balance. In this balance, existence and non-existence are equated. And that is said to be as it is, or suchness, or thought, or voidness, emptiness. All these are terms to define that state, that balance. And that balance is not objective, not only subjective, but the realization of the objective reality is creating the subjective reality, and the subjective reality from its viewpoint is creating the objective reality. Thus, one end dependent on the other of its origin nulls and voids both the ends. Plus minus 1 is equal to 0. You can understand intellectually by judgment, by analysis. But the day you feel it, you are in Samadhi. Or coming out of Samadhi, if you can recognize it, then you are a realizer. So realization is connected to subject to objective, while experience is object to subjective. From object, it is creating the subject. And other is the subject is creating the object. How subject is creating the object? Choice. When you choose something, like Vanya chooses something that Akhilesh doesn't choose and then fight. Or Akhilesh chooses something that Vanya doesn't choose. So they fight. Why our choices have to be the same? Our love didn't make a business of equalizing choices. That if I love bread, you also have to love bread. You cannot love pasta. Because I love bread, we have to equalize. Doesn't happen. You doesn't feel sleepy at the same time. You doesn't feel to go to the toilet at the same time. You don't feel many things similar. But if you observe why you have loved each other, you will reach a consciousness which will again take you to a zero energy state. Freed from choices and likings, love is eternal. And bounded by choices and liking, love is fighting. I love you. You love the dog. Akhilesh, you don't have to a tail to wag. It's not enough a reason that from tomorrow, Akhilesh should have a tail and have a buckles in the neck and wag his tail because he loves the dog. So I was saying about the frequencies. Lord Buddha, when he was meditating, going from one guru to another, at the end of his practices, almost the last phase of his practice, he saw an Avadhuta sitting in the forest under a tree, and he's meditating, but his eyes are not closed. He has a wife too, as a partner. They have a small tent made up of leaves. In the Sachi Stupa gate, this story is engraved. And they're doing fire, keeping a fire. He's with the yogis with dreadlocks and things I'm describing from the iconography. But the story is Buddha met this master who's sitting under a big tree and time to time becoming the tree. He's merging into the tree. And Siddhartha is saying the tree is becoming much bigger and with glossy, more bigger leaves. One day he saw that this yogi is sitting and a cobra has suddenly come in front of it and taken up a hood and trying to bite it. In a moment, the yogi turned to a bigger cobra and ate up the small cobra. And then again became the yogi. So Siddhartha went and held his feet. what is this? What are you doing? He said, what you are seeing is not a matter of wisdom. But what I am doing is producing these things. So what are you doing? He said, I'm equating the tanmatras, I'm equating the frequencies. I'm equating my pulsation, creating the frequency of my flow of electrons. And when it will become same with the tree, I will become the tree. So my human life and consciousness added to the tree makes it bigger and glossy. So I became the bigger snake because this was disturbing me. And I ate it up. So a form merged into another form. It is not killing, he said. And Buddha was shaken. He was not yet a Buddha. He was a realizer. He was realizing he has not come to the end, yet he still have questions. So this master is called Pundarika, and he's an Angira sage or a rishi. Angira is a very old pre-Vedic lineage. Vedas have even given reference to the Angira rishis as the oldest rishis. In Atanatiya Sutta of Theravada, Lord Buddha calls himself Angirasassa Namattu Shakya Puttasya Sirimata, that Shakya Putra Gautama or Shakya Putra Buddha, Shakya Muni Buddha is an Angira sage. So this Angira lineage is known as the oldest Shaivite line. So in that sense, if you call it Shaivite, you have to call Buddha Shaivite too. Angirasa. Angirasa was, those who are people of philosophy, for them only. Angirasa was endowed by Bardhashpata, or the hedonist, or who are called Charuvak or Charvakas. Charvakas inherited Angirasa. And from there, anti-Vedic school came called Naidruva. And from Naidruva came Gautama, the great sage of Indian logistics or logics, Nyaya or ethics. Buddha first was disciple of Gautama of Nyaya or ethics. That is why Buddha is so ethical. Buddhism is so ethical. Many people have said that Buddhism is extreme moralism. Yes, Buddha has found out many pros and cons of our limitations and showed us those limitations. And those limitations are our shilas or our life insurance, our virtues that ensure our life to be a beautiful life. Not to be glorified as virtuous, but to enjoy a life within limits. Those who do not respect limits, they don't respect home. Because home is also a limited space. Only those who have transcended even taking a shelter may call themselves limitless, but they will also have limits. After enlightenment, the next day, an enlightened being doesn't increase 1 foot of his length. What to say of 1 foot? Even 1 inch does not extra add. to the body. Or an ugly face does not become a beautiful face next day. So the Sahajas have seen mind, the Jogchenpos. They've seen mind or Chittamatrata is the consciousness which is in between body and sensation, and in the other end, the objective end of body and sensation, and subjective end of intellect and identity. Mind is the middle one. Dangerous. So mind is the mirror on which the reality of life as body and sensation is reflecting in one side, and is making in other side the reflection of intellect, judgment, and identity. So mind is the central faculty. So this mind, if becomes free from thoughts, will be called chitta matrata, or the onlyness of watchfulness. And this onlyness of watchfulness can observe voidness. You cannot observe the void. You can observe yourself getting lost in the void, but you can observe voidness, the quality of void present in all forms and names. That is voidness. So entire practice of Tantra is exactly this. These 5 frequencies becoming 5 identities and connected with 5 elements of the gross existence. This relationship between the outer and inner is standing on pure consciousness. But we are not being able to go to the in-between state, which is pure consciousness. See, there's so much design this side, so much design that side, and the center, a big zero. So when you go to the state of neutrality, the neutral mind, free from perception and non-perception, is the consciousness. Once you experience it, your enlightenment starts. So this is the story of mind, Helen. And it's already 12:02. Mika, we are missing you.
I miss you too, Baba.
So you are the miss or I am the miss?
I am the miss.
Okay, keep your virginity alive.
All right.
Because the virginity is that state of mind which is not being afflicted by anything. And if you reach that mind, you have reached your own virginity. That is never lost. Never. The pure consciousness, free from any condition. Raju is today cosmic man. His identity is galaxy. So Jessica, you are not questioning anything. Tero doesn't ask a question at all. It takes a year to ask a question. Because now it is also to Tero, the meaning of asking a question is dissolving. Isn't it, Tero?
Yes, Baba.
I can see that in your eyes. Good. See, you have reached the space that a bodhisattva resides in. Without fear, without trembling. Because this is a state which can make you very sad and very happy at the same time. It's called the meaninglessness of everything. This meaninglessness, observe it. And more you observe, more compassion will bind you up with life.
Okay.
And then you will join the night party again.
Tell me you're having a night party right now.
We are night creatures, what to do? It's a party, it's a beautiful party going on. So, yes, Minama, how are you?
Baba, good, thank you. Baba, good to see you.
Other day, Diego wrote me his realizations about your relationship, and I appreciated it very much.
Yes. Yeah.
He's enlightening in understanding a relationship of love. It's very deep, Diego. What you wrote, I was really happy that you have reached there.
Wow.
So many of you have reached there from where the real journey starts. So don't be afraid. Just carry on. And to become a Buddha, you have to be a Buddhist. In Pragyaparamita Ashtasahasrika, Lord Buddha said that if somebody worships my relics or many Buddhas' relics, entire life and goes on making pagodas on those relics and worship this book, Pragyaparamita, again and again, as much as good karmas they will have in comparison with a person who has experienced what I am saying without knowing me, without reading my book, without knowing these words. It will be like one sand in the sea beach compared to the entire sea beach. The entire sea beach is one who has experienced it. Even without knowing me, even without knowing my dharma. And between one who has taken my dharma and going on worshipping me with all virtues. That much is the value of enlightenment. That much is the value of realization. So you don't have to tag yourself into any religion. But religions are houses where you can have different parties, different party rules, different styles, different cultures. Take the essence of partying. The essence of partying is be in bliss. And to be in bliss is continuous self-introspection and self-analysis till you reach the state of the mind which does not hold on to any thought. Yogis do it technically. So we end up today. Yesterday, our whole night puja went till 6 o'clock in the morning. It was a brilliant time of prolonged meditation, and I was teaching Ma first time the way of Maitreyasangha, Ugra Tara, very difficult meditation of that. How you can transmute every aspect of the form of the deity into yourself. That is the practice of Tantra. So to just see an icon and throwing flowers is not enough. It's like you have to see, translate the icon into the principles and techniques of practice and virtues and accomplishments, and then you hold Tara in you. So yesterday was Faloharini Kali Puja, or the day of cutting of karmas. So good night to everybody. Good night to everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Baba. Jai Guru.
Good night.
Baba.
Hi, Guru. Good night.
Baba.
Good
Jai
night.
Guru.
Jai Guru.